Hello and welcome to part 2 of episode 4 of State of SWGoH. I'm Stero and joining me is TheLisol.
Hello, everybody.
So the first topic I wanted to cover of my 3 is the datacron set. And specifically the question, is it too broad? Like is going for those of you who don't know the new datacron set, the level 6 is not for a particular faction like it has been in the past. It is for the types, the archetypes, the healer, tank, support, and attacker roles. Roles is what I was looking for. That's the word. And that just makes it so broadly applicable, combined with the fact that they always do this, but there's so many crappy ones, and there's like only one good one per faction role set, and it's crazy. There's so many combinations. The level 9s are all over the place. You have like Bosk, Iden, Vandor, Chewy, Cup, Visas Mar, just like a bunch of random gobbledygook stuff. And there's just so much you could potentially go for. It feels too broad. Datacrons were meant to be like a way to keep the game fresh, keep the meta fresh.
Narrow the meta.
And yeah, to narrow the meta. But I feel like this broadens the meta.
Yeah.
Instead of making a few teams much better than they normally are, you are making a ton of teams anywhere from a little bit to way better than they were.
Yeah.
Some like a lot of them in match defining ways. Like they change the counters, they change the matchups. Some of them slightly, some of them a lot, right? And I think it's just like I like the idea of it being able to be applied so broadly for theory crafting, because I love theory crafting it. But it's just, I think, too much, and it doesn't accomplish the goal of, I guess, narrowing the meta. It keeps it fresh for sure. I guess that might be the goal, but it doesn't narrow it like it has before. And I think that is turning off. Like I've noticed a lot of players in my guild, they're just completely turned off to this set because they look at it and they're like, I have no idea. I'm so confused and overwhelmed. I don't care. I'm just going to farm what I farm, and I'll throw on datacrons as I.
You're looking at one of those guys right here. Absolutely flummoxed. No idea what I'm doing with these datacron set. With this datacron set, I got a Wampa one, which I'm pretty sure isn't even the good Wampa one. I got the Nest one, which I'm pretty sure isn't the good Nest one. And I got Sortie. And then I have a bunch of 3s and 6s that I'm like, well, if they don't have the good 6 on them, I don't take them up. Although I do like the fact, I don't know if you've noticed, I don't think
they reduced the cost.
Yes. But I think that's just because of the sheer volume of level 6s that they have.
Yes.
Because
and it's really, I don't know if you noticed this, but it's really hard to get the good level 6s.
I've only gotten a handful of them. So and I have a ton of datacrons. We're 5 days left in Conquest. I finished my Conquest a couple days ago, so I've been just farming datacrons for a while now. And I've got a good amount of datacrons, and I only have a handful of the good level 6s. I don't even know what the good level 3 is, really. And
Not
the level 9s
really.
are like, I get what I get. Getting reroll.
Yeah, a lot of the level 9s I can't even use to their full extent.
Yeah.
Like, I have a partially relict Iden team, so I can't use it for Iden. And I've like partially relict a lot of teams.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I have a relic Starkiller team, except my Visas Mar is just not relic.
Yeah.
So am I really going to take her relic as opposed to like getting Qui-Gon up to relics? No, I'm just not going to take her to relics. I'm just going to ignore it.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of level 9s are that way.
As far as the set being too broad, yes, it is. With all of the other previous sets, and I was not a huge datacron player until about 3 or 4 sets ago, and when I really started focusing on it. Mainly because I'm at a point now in my roster where I can spend my Shard Shop currency on datacrons instead of gear. And with all of the other datacron sets, there were either 4 or 5 level 9s with a level 6 combo that I wanted, I could shoot for, and I could try. And I'd wind up with 9 or 10 level 9s. And 4 of them would be 4 of the 5 that I wanted. And that was good enough. I'm not a super sweaty try hard or anything. So if I get most of what I want, I'm happy. With this set, I don't even know what I want. I really don't. And it's really, I understand what they're doing, why they're trying to do it. They make it really broad so you spend more money to get more of them. But if you don't even know what direction you're supposed to go in, you end up like the people you were talking about earlier who are just going to be like, I just get what I get and that's what I get. You know, like you're not going to try harder for it if you don't know
you're not
what you're even trying for. So I feel like I like the idea of the rolls as the level 6s, in principle. But in execution, it's a little too much, I think.
Yeah.
And I think, based on what I'm hearing and what you're hearing, apparently, similar things, they're probably going to look at their metrics after this set and be like, that was a mistake. Let's go back to the way we were doing things. Hopefully.
Yeah, like, well, what I could see is, like, if you did, like, do a mixture. Do, like, if you want to make it more accessible, do a mixture. Do like a broad, like 2 broad factions, 1 specific faction, and then 1 role.
Okay.
Right? Like, just say your set is for Jedi, Sith, Galactic Republic, and attackers.
I would go further than that even. I would say keep the level 6s as both the broad and the narrow factions, and make the level 3s rolls instead of alignment. Maybe try that. Maybe that'll work a little better. And maybe instead of having all 4 rolls, you just have 2 of the rolls. Like, one set is attackers and tanks, and then the set that comes out after it is healers and support. So that way you have a meta where you have all 4 rolls in there, but they're split between 2 sets.
That could be.
But I'm sure they will experiment. They may never do what we suggest, but they'll probably, tinker and figure it out. And hopefully they find a balance where they and we like it. Right now, as it is, this ain't it.
It's a little too much.
Yeah.
It's too much, yeah. So, that's the final conclusion on that is it's too much. I'm glad they're trying new things, though. I think that's really positive to see.
Yes, agreed.
All right, so second topic I wanted to cover was the quality of life updates, kind of like the UI update. I don't think it's on mobile yet, but for PC, they changed like the buttons in the UI, kind of like mainly by UI, I mean mainly the buttons were changed. They were kind of cleaned up. They changed the shape a little bit.
Yeah.
Instead of being like perfectly,
they have better animations
it was like
too.
Rango. Yeah, and they have like the button highlights look cleaner and just things look sharper a little bit. I think they might have changed an icon or 2 on one of the buttons just slightly, but they also in fleet battles they changed you'd view the guy in the cockpit.
Yeah.
They changed that so it's just a picture of them.
I don't like that change.
I don't like that change. I like seeing them in the cockpit.
Yeah,
like
I thought that was
seeing
a cool little
Admiral Piet with the Star Destroyer window background, and he's just like or looking around, ready to call him the Star Destroyer, or the Death Star. I really like that.
Yeah.
And now that they're static, just their profile pictures, I think that's a regression. Kind of lost something. Yeah.
But like, I really liked the old animations where like you'd see the pilot in the cockpit, and you have the not the POV camera, but like the the face cam, and it was very reminiscent of the original trilogy, where you see like the X-wing pilots going in and the Death Star run, they get hit and blown up, and you see the that little clip of them like with the explosion behind them and everything. Yeah, like I really liked that, and them changing that I feel like is a regression. I don't really understand why they made that particular change. But as we discussed last night, I think I'm generally ambivalent towards UI changes. They do look better. It is nicer, but it's cosmetic stuff. I don't really care. But in a meta sense, I think it's a very good thing, because if they're tinkering with less important things in the game, that means they're still putting money into the game. That means the game is still in a healthy place, and I'm really happy for that.
Yeah, it means someone has a job to do something that is not directly revenue generating.
Exactly.
Which means the game's in a really good place from a revenue perspective. Also, quality of life update to Territory Wars. They added if you end a battle and you lose, no matter what, it will give you the option to either submit your attempt, keep it, or forfeit.
If you forfeit,
that way
it doesn't preload?
Correct, yeah. So they took away the need for
airplane mode.
Yep.
Well,
I think that's a great quality of life update, and I think that will help a lot of guilds. It's just a really nice... it's so much easier to explain to a new player, like if they come into a guild and you're like, hey, make sure you don't preload. And they're like, what does that mean? And it's like, well, if you lose to a team and you haven't gotten anybody out, press forfeit instead of submit.
Yeah.
Instead, a lot easier to say than, well, if you do airplane mode, then it won't submit the attempt. And if you back out, then it'll count as a forfeit, just in case they kill you before you can actually click the forfeit button. So I think that's a really good quality of life update. Again, not revenue generating.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really good thing that they did, and it shows that they still care. And yeah, there's also one thing with the new profile picture updates. I like that they did it, but I'm also concerned that they don't actually have any intention of updating the character models.
Okay, so this is a drum I've been beating for a long time. Long time. Look at Marvel Strike Force compared to SWGoH. Now, they are, as far as the quality of the visuals, very similar. But Marvel Strike Force has a unified art style. And SWGoH does not. Every character looks like they come from a different place than every other character. It's very jarring. And I've been saying for a long time, they need to unify the art style. And they need to take all of the character models, redo them all, so they all look like they come from the same source. As opposed to Phoenix looking like they come from a cartoon, and CLS looking like...
To be fair, they did.
True. But so do all the characters in Marvel Strike Force. They all come from sources that have different art styles, but they took those sources and they unified them all, so they all have one clear vision as to what they look like. And I think changing the profile pictures is a step in that direction, but I do agree with you, they're never going to update the character models. They're going to do one here and there forever. And then maybe if the game lasts long enough, they'll get there where they get all of them. But I find that highly doubtful.
What I was thinking was they want a unified art style, and all of the newer characters are in a unified art style.
Yes, true.
But I think, this is my suspicion as to why they removed the animated cockpit thing, is because it breaks you out of that art style for the older characters.
Possibly. I think.
And so if they remove that, then it's less eyes on how different the character model is from the art style of the new profile pictures, which now it just shows the profile pictures. So you're like, oh, yeah, everything looks
the same.
Yeah. It's only when you actually go into the character screen that you really start to notice it. And I think that they'll address some of the more egregious ones. I hope they update Hera and some of the Phoenix, because they already updated They didn't update Hera's model, did they?
No, I don't think so. They have a problem with female characters, though. They cannot make them look right for some reason, and I don't understand what. Like, most of the visual overhauls of the male characters look really good.
They do some of the female characters, right? Like, just off the top of my head,
good.
Cara Dune, Fennec look good.
But like they did, remember they did Rey not too long ago, maybe 2 years ago, and she ended up looking worse.
Yeah,
and it just, I don't know. Like,
well, I think so. They do better when they're allowed to use the likeness of the actors.
Are they not able to use the likeness of Daisy Ridley?
I don't know. I would imagine they are.
Yeah,
I would imagine they are, but they
maybe because it's an old model, they're updating. Maybe there's something to do with the way it was structured to begin with that they can't change.
It is a quite old model, and it does look like it looks distinctly different from some of the newer characters. You can tell the newer characters have a more high fidelity model base to work with.
I know
than the older characters.
I know it's a meme, but more polygons. Like, you can tell.
No, literally, they have more polygons.
Yeah, literally more polygons. Like, and with more polygons, it's just like, for lack of a better term, it's higher resolution. Like, you can make smoother surfaces with more polygons. Kind of like,
they still struggled with Queen Amidala, though.
Yeah,
they struggled a little bit.
Yeah,
it's not bad. Like, so like the profile picture for her, I think, looks a little bit wonky, but the actual character model looks pretty good.
I'm opening her up right now for reference. Oh, where is she?
Yeah, like the profile picture, she looks like her face looks off. Like, it's a bit too wide, a little bit weird looking. But if you go into the character model, it looks fine.
I think the problem with the profile pictures is, and I don't really care for the profile picture change. Like, I like it for some reason, that I dislike it for others. And the reason I dislike it is because it feels like they're all just photographs that are scaled down. So, like, when I'm looking at it on my PC client, they just doesn't quite look right. Like they should have done like vector art instead of pixel art. I guess is that the I'm not a designer, so I don't know.
And I think the art, the pictures, the new profile pictures, are not like based off of the character model. They are like concept art, like completely separated.
Some of them are straight up the pictures taken from Wikipedia.
Yeah, and some of them, like, I noticed, I think it was like, what was it? Was it like a Revan? Like, Darth Revan's picture was ripped from a modder for Battlefront 2.
Oh, really? Darth Revan's is one of my favorite.
But I mean, to be fair, that's what you got to be careful. If you make mods and you play the Star Wars game and you put stuff out there, I don't know all the legal, but they technically have the right to use
I'm sure
your stuff.
I'm
like, sure that's one of the risks, I guess, with that. I'm not sure about like the whole modding situation, but that might be technically against TOS. I'm not really sure, but that's like one of the things where people were like getting mad that like, oh, they used some modders' work, and it's like, well, maybe that was bad of them, but maybe they totally have every right to use what people created for the Star Wars EA IP.
I don't know any of the legal stuff. I imagine that sits in some sort of legal gray area, and if it's you fighting Disney gonna win.
Well, they wouldn't be fighting Disney; it would be EA. But you're still gonna lose.
Yeah. Still an almost equally sized company.
Yep.
Anyway, so we were talking about quality of life still.
Yeah, I think we can finish up on that. I think we like quality of life. The actual changes are kind of hit or miss, but
for meta
overall,
reasons, it's good.
Yeah.
Overall,
the direction that we're heading, in that we're getting quality of life updates and graphic overhauls, is really good.
Yeah.
It means the game is going to be around for a while. They expect the game to be around for
right
a while yet, which is good for all of us.
We should start worrying when we stop getting any kind of graphic overhauls, quality of life changes, things like that. But
yeah, like if you compare it to frickin' Lord of the Rings Home, that game was dead from the start in comparison to SWGoH.
Oh yeah. I mean,
and we like there's plenty of people in the community that came over from Home, and so if things start going the way of Home, you'll know like
oh yeah,
a year in advance.
All these people that were playing it before be like, hey, this is what Loader Homie looked like right before it closed down.
Yep. So I think it's a good direction.
Yeah, agreed.
Moving on to point 3, or the third topic here, the state of the economy and kind of where we think CG might be headed with it. So specifically, I'm thinking Kyrotech and signal data are a huge crunch because they're releasing so many new characters so quickly, and they all require 400 Kyrotech apiece. For new to early mid-game players, that is at minimum a month for per character to get 400 Kyrotechs. Once you can use your get 2 for Kyrotech and your get 3 for Kyrotech, that hugely opens it. Literally doubles your Kyrotech income per month. And so a lot of like mid late game players don't have as much of a crunch there. But because I did the math on how much you get from Rote and Territory Wars, and if you spent all of that on Kyrotech, how much that equates to, and it's like double what you would be getting as an early mid game player. And then also you have to factor in assault battles.
Yeah.
Like the more assault battles you have, like right now I have challenge tier 1 on 6 of the assault battles. I'm soon to be 7, but this one doesn't. The new one doesn't give Kyrotechs. And that equates to those 6 assault battles.
On the new one?
No.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's just it goes mods instead of Kyrotech.
That's fine. I can use mod stuff. I'm always hurting for mod stuff.
So, but like six assault battles is 120 Kyrotech pieces, or 120 Kyrotech per month for me. And
60
newer
and 60?
players aren't going to have that.
60 and 60 or 120 each?
60 and 60.
Okay.
Because it's 10 of each piece you get, so 120 overall. And so that's a full piece plus some.
Yeah.
Right? Because each piece costs 150 of each. That's a full piece plus some that other players might not be getting, right? Like it takes time to develop the roster depth to actually start consistently hitting multiple assault battles to challenge tier 1 at least, and then, if not maxing them out, which really helps with relic materials and signal data as well. I think the crunch is really, really bad for Kyrotech on the earlier accounts. It's still really bad in the mid game. I think later game, not as much of an issue, just because they've had longer to build up that income stream of Kyrotechs. But for like a player like me, everything I do is filtered through how much Kyrotech does it cost. I can get everything else faster than I can get the amount of Kyrotech any of these new teams are going to require, right? Like if I like to get Gungans to relics, it would take me 2 months of Kyrotech farming, like hard focusing on Kyrotech and spending everything on my Kyrotechs just to get the Kyrotechs enough for Gungans. And then you have to compare the cost of, all right, well, what is the return on investment? How can I help alleviate my Kyrotech grind? And every new character coming out is Kyrotech intensive. GL Ahsoka, holy crap. She's going to be the new, by far and away, most costly in terms of Kyrotechs and probably everything else GL in the game.
It's going to be a matter of how many marquees are actually required for her.
Well, but she already requires gas.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And gas requires a lot of gas.
A lot of G13 characters, yeah.
Yep. and Padme. So Padme and Shakti, that's like what is it, like 600-700 Kyrotech between the both of them? Plus Gas himself is like another 400 or 500 Kyrotech. So you're already sitting at like 1,200-1,300 Kyrotech, plus the 3 that we already have. The other 3 requirements, which is 400 and then 2 100s. So you're looking at like 1,900 Kyrotech just for the first 4 requirements.
Well,
that's already more than SLKR array costs.
Yeah, true. And almost as much.
So,
Jabba's what, 2,800, something like that.
Yeah. So you're encroaching on Jabba Lord Vader territory very, very rapidly already. Plus, you got to add 3 more marquees at least.
So that's another 1,200.
Another 1,200. So now you're sitting at like 30.
So you're already past Jabba.
Yeah. You're already past Jabba. You're into Lord Vader
plus the territory. 700, maybe 800. Who knows?
For Ahsoka herself.
So you're looking at 4,000.
Yep, and I think
I
think she's going to require if she requires Conquest Ezra, that's at least another 400.
Yeah,
plus a Conquest unit. Who knows? I am not confident that they're going to be nice. I think they're not going to pull their punches. Like I think they're going to require Maul and Cat. Actually, Maul can't be required because there's only 4 dark side, and we know them.
Yeah, and they're all.
Well, I think Commander Ahsoka. I think they're going to require her. It just makes sense.
It makes sense, and Ahsoka or Cat is actually a pretty easy farm now. You can buy her with Get 3. You can get her with the GL currency. You can get her from Proving Grounds, which hers is the easiest of the Proving Grounds, except for maybe Ben Solo. So she is accessible to everyone, despite whatever whinging people might do. I was able to get Cat on my alt account, and I don't even really participate in Conquest. I don't do any of that. I've had Cat for like 1.5 years on my alt right now. Maybe even 2 years at this point.
She's accessible, but it's still a Conquest unit.
Yeah.
So she's not accessible to new players. Even if you come in and buy a bunch of Lightspeed bundles, you still have to go through Proving Grounds and get 330 shards of Cat.
Yeah, but you can buy her with Get 3. And
yeah, but it's like 5 for like 2,000 or something like that.
Yeah, it's not a good value, but it's accessible. It'll take a while. It's like buying Razor Crest
reasonably accessible
with the fleet currency, kind of. So it's something that you can't complain that it's inaccessible. It's not like requiring Cam. Cam's way friggin' harder to get than Cat, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
I only recently finished Cam on my main account.
I'm not even going for Cam. Until he's required for something, because of my Kyrotech crunch, I am just like I've Watt 7-star. I've got like nothing. I'm like I might as well spend my Get 3 on accelerating my Kyrotech crunch, because that'll help me way more than getting Cam, and he's going to sit there on my roster and do literally nothing until he's required for some busted team.
Well,
right? Like
he's good in the raid apparently, but I mean,
yeah,
you have
but
a million priorities you gotta sort out, and making a Kelleran team better is not
rather. Yeah, I would much rather spend my Get 3 on the Kyrotech required to build up Queen Amidala and the Gungans than spend it all on trying to unlock Cam. Anyway, so Kyrotech and Signal Data 2, they're requiring a lot of R9s. A lot of things are requiring R9s. The frickin' Bo-Katan mission on Mandalore, a full R9 team, that's ridiculous. They're requiring the first R9 requirement for a GL is here. The Assault Battle last tier requires Relic 9s. The Raid, if you want to get to the easy tier, which I call Relic 9 the easy tier, because from Relic 8 to Relic 9, you basically, as a player, just get a bunch of bonuses, and they don't really get much. So there's a lot of stuff requiring Relic 9 now. There's also packs in the store that I saw like assets for credits. And so I'm wondering, is there actually a credit crunch for people? And the new Assault Battle, if you max it out, you get 21 million credits a month. It's the largest dump of credits ever.
I can tell you.
Are they going to do something
right now
that are going to require credits in the future.
That I am sitting at the lowest amount of credits I have in the past 3 years. I have 7 million credits. Normally, up until about 6 months ago, I had 100 million credits all the time. This is partially because I am hitting mods a lot harder than I have before. I was pretty complacent with my mods, but still, like, I've been used to having 50 to 100 million all the time. I only have 7 million, so this assault battle is going to be a huge boon to me. But why are they giving us so many credits?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I've seen Arnold speculating about level 90. And I'm like, one thing that is weird though is that we've had PvE characters be at level 90 for forever.
I think that's just a way of tuning it because it makes it harder to land debuffs and all that.
Yeah. But I feel like there has to be some change to some system that is going to put us back in a credit crunch. Because they're gearing up to alleviate a credit crunch.
Right.
With this new assault battle, with these new packs, it looks like. And so unless it is just for new players, unless it's just like, we know new players will always have a credit crunch, or will have a credit crunch for a while. It goes away pretty quickly, but they'll have a credit crunch for a while, so we're just going to help them out and like focus these packs and some of the new content on getting them materials. And maybe that's a way to entice new players who really have no reason to be going for like POW and
right.
Be like, Qui-Gon.
Man, I'm strapped on credits, but this will give me 21 million a month. That'll be a huge help. I'll.
Yeah, I mean, even just get them gear 12, or just even get them 7-star. That'll get you like 11 million or something like that a month. That's great, and that is a huge incentive. Plus a free 5 to 6 dot mod upgrade every month as well for new players. So it could be that they're just trying to entice newer players to go for the newer stuff. But I would like to believe that there is some sort of new progression coming, whether it be another set of relic levels or...
I think that's the most likely is relic
mods, 10. 7 dot mods. Fleet mods.
Oh, God. Actually, I mean, I have thoughts about fleet mods, but we don't have all day. And I don't think they'd be a bad idea, but they would have to be implemented properly.
So I think the point being here is that there is crunches. I hope that they do like release some really good value Chirotech packs.
They do have, and I bought, to go back to the $5.25 pack.
I want to see something better though. I want to see like a Chirotech Ascension pack.
I mean, it's
with even better value. Well, yeah, because the amount of Chirotechs in this game that it's required is it's like I mentioned, it's the #1 gate to the new content.
Right.
And if you want people to be accessing the new content, then you need to get them some way to get Chirotech.
So
you can't just entice them and then basically block them so they can't get what you're trying to entice them to get.
Not counting the newest 2 or 3 marquee characters, I have, let me do some quick napkin math. 8 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What's 8 times 6? That's what, 36? No, it's 40 something. 48.
Yeah, 48.
I have 48 characters that are not G13. I need 6,950 shock prods and 4,550 battle computers. And that's not counting the 2 most recent marquee characters.
Not to mention Jilo Ahsoka, Balin Skull.
Exactly.
All of the marquee characters that are going to come out. That's going to add another couple thousand of each. And that's a lot. That's just a lot of stuff. I would rather the bottleneck be signal data and relic materials than Chirotechs, because Chirotechs limit, I would rather be able to get to relics, reasonably quickly, And then I would rather be stuck grinding out the additional relic levels than getting them 2 relics, because relic is the bare minimum for any character to be usable.
Their stated goal, what, 2.5 years ago, was to get people to engage with relics. It's very difficult to engage with relics if you have to get 400, 500 Kairos to get to G13.
Yep.
And so if you plan it out right, you can, roughly speaking, once a week get a character to G13. And I think that's a reasonable rate.
Unless they cost 400 Kyrotech.
Yeah.
If you start from 0 Kyrotechs and it costs 400 for like a new marquee, for example, then like you can get the gear 12 to the gear 13 material and the relic material to get them up to like R5 in a week.
Yeah. Well,
you cannot get 400
Kyrotech. My personal Kyrotech income is roughly 450 Kairos a week. That
how?
What? I don't know. I've done the math multiple times.
Do you spend all your normal energy refreshes on Kyrotech?
Oh, I don't have to do shard farms because I'm done with everything. So basically,
yes.
basically all of my normal energy goes into Kyrotech shock prods, and all of my currencies go into battle computers. The sticking point I get is the battle computers aren't always in the shop, and I don't have time IRL to check the shop 4 times a day.
Every refresh.
Yeah. So sometimes, optimum, I get 450 Kairos a week. Generally speaking, it's closer to 400. Sometimes it can be as low as 300. Just depends on drop rates. You know, sometimes RNG just screws you. Sometimes you get really good RNG. So once you hit a certain point, and I'm not end game by any means. I'm pretty late game, but I'm not end game by any means. Once you hit a certain point, the Kairos, while still being a bottleneck, are less so of one. But you have to be at the point where you're not farming shards anymore, and you are able to put all of your currencies into Kyrotechs.
Oh yeah, as soon as a new character hits a hard node, though, you're losing a significant amount.
I do 2 refreshes on every character because I'm in a position where I'm able to do that. I do 2 refreshes. Usually takes me about a month-ish to go from the 3 or 4 stars to 7 stars. And then I'm now reaching a point where I can consider soft whaling on these characters, where I can spend crystals to buy shards of these characters. Like I was gonna do it for Master Qui-Gon, but I was like,
until he came out on
a Cantina, and I'm like, oh yeah, then I'll just finish it in a week. But that will mess with my signal data. But we discussed the signal data crunch. I, for the longest time, had no signal data crunch. I always had my signal data income was always just slightly more than what I spent. But recently, like this past week when I did my gearing, I ran out of signal data before I ran out of relic mats. And it has to do with these R9 requirements. Typically speaking, I would kind of alternate my gearing so that I was doing like a high relic level character one week and then a lower relic level character the next week and then a high level relic character, but 2 weeks in a row I did an R8 Queen Amidala, an R7 POW the next week, and I took a bunch of characters for my Lord Vader requirements from R0 or R1 to R3. And I ran out of signal data. Never happened before. And I think it's going to be a problem that persists for me for a while. Excuse me, until I finish these friggin' Gungans and Queen Amidala and Lord Vader and Bo-Katan and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So basically forever. And I'm in a position where engaging with relics is not enough. I now need to be engaging with basically every character that I use needs to be R7 or higher. And that is brutal, especially with the raid paying out less than half of what I was getting before.
Yep, it's a crunch. And I think that it's a crunch. Just signal data and Chirotech, I think.
I mean,
signal data is later game, Chirotech is more mid game. But I still think like even late game, Chirotechs are somewhat of a bottleneck.
Yeah,
you can easily find yourself running out if you're not.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm my current farms. I'm taking all of the requirements for journeys that I have not finished, which were Lord Vader, Bo-Katan, and Afra, up to G13 while I work on my raid stuff. And I have not been able to take a character. I've finished Lord Vader requirements to G13 a while ago, but since then it's been like 2.5 months. I have not been able to take any of the Afro or Bo-Katan requirements up because I'm only able to spare one extra Cairo every week to put on those characters, if I even have that to spare. So late game as I am, and even talking about how Kairos aren't really that big of a crunch for me, it's still something I have to consider, and it's making my plans more difficult to achieve. Even though I'm able to get my primary focuses done, my secondary focuses are very difficult to finish because they're so Cairo heavy.
And that's where they want you, because if your primary focus is really the only thing you can invest in, and your primary focus is mostly going to be new stuff with good ROI, then your secondary focus is the older stuff and the stuff you're catching up on. They're going to go a lot slower. They're going to get you on the Lightspeed bundles. And then that's just like the cycle. That's where I mean, honestly, from a business perspective, that's exactly where they want every player to be. Feeling like they need to chase the new stuff, and then slowly kind of just giving them it's okay, we got your back, just shell out $20 and we'll give you this team that you were really thinking about getting, but we don't want you don't have to do that. You can keep doing the new stuff, and we'll just, for a low-ish price, we'll just give you the thing you wanted.
Yeah. I can't wait till I'm out of that cycle. I should be able, hopefully by the end of the year, have LV, Bo, and Afra finished. And then I will be in a position finally where I'm just chasing new stuff. I don't have to worry about the old stuff. And then that's probably when I'll be like, this game sucks.
Probably not.
Yeah, I'm like, now that I'm done managing my resources, what's the fun in this?
Well, you'll still have to manage.
Oh yeah, and there'll still be
they'll make you. It'll just be all the new, like you'll have all the characters at relics, but you'll need to take them to higher and higher relics.
Yeah, which is
in order to compete in the later and later
slog.
Yeah.
All right, we're at 43 minutes. We really are long-winded.
Yes, we are. Yes. All right. Well, I'll close it out. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. Link in the description to part 1 over on the TheLisol's channel if you haven't watched it yet. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you again next time.
Peace out.